Howdy, folks, and welcome to another day in the Milky Way. We got a great show for you tonight, one you won't believe, with my co-host, David Null, Hawkeye Two Feathers. Because here comes my dog howling again. It just cracks me up. Makes me lose my
Greetings and
brain.
blessings as always. And, that he would forget me so soon.
Oh
So
my!
we greet you with the love and the honor of the infinite creator. And we continue to pray each and every day that each and every one of you will continue to learn how to accept and receive the knowledge, the healing, the wisdom, and the many blessings from the universe. So we hope that you enjoy tonight's broadcast. And tonight's story is The Boy Who Was Saved by Thoughts. That just sounds like an interesting story. So if you have the time, hang around.
That's right. That's right. Yeah, that dog, he's something else. Every time we get on, I do that intro. He comes running out. He was way in the bedroom back there, and he hears me, and I get here. I mean, I could be talking out here doing whatever, and all of a sudden he hears that, and it's like, ooh, he comes a running. Oh, talk about loyalty of dogs. It's hilarious. But tonight we got a good show. Of all people, who do you think we're doing? Grizzly Adams. You
Not
know, I mean,
not
did you ever?
grizzly.
Yeah, did you ever watch that show, Grizzly Adams?
Back in the day, yeah, but don't ask me to think of, remember anything from any particular episode. That would
Yeah,
just the fact that I can remember that it was a TV show is enough remembering for me.
yeah. In the TV show, he had the big bear, and then he had the friend that come over with the mule and bring him some supplies, and he was on escape from the law or something, and the show only went for like one or two seasons. It wasn't on for a long time. But I swear everybody remembers it because of the bear. And we're going to show everybody the bear. Um, and this was a show, and if you guys don't remember it, um, this was Grizzly Adams guy. The guy's dead now. This guy he's dead, but and I imagine the bear is too. But for a long time, they put on a show every week, and he had this bear that somehow nobody got killed on set either. Trying to play with the bear every week. Can you imagine having a big grizzly bear that you got to work with all the time?
Yeah, to just go hugging and kissing on, and just
Yeah, and he ain't like he's declawed. You can see in the picture. We'll just blow it up a little bit, and you can see in the picture he's still got his claws. Look at that. I mean, come
yeah.
on, his claws are as big as that guy's hand.
Yeah, and
you know?
it also looks like he's got a cloth or a pad of some sort over his leg too.
Yeah,
Like, here, come
yeah,
here,
maybe just
boy.
in case.
But make sure your claws are on the pillow. And I wouldn't, that wouldn't.
Yeah,
I could understand that. I mean, my dog's got sharp claws, and sometimes, it's like, ooh, ow, ooh, be careful. So a bear, ooh, man. And
yeah,
especially,
yeah,
some
exactly.
people think of bears, and on the East Coast, it's a black bear, or usually maybe a brown bear. But now the farther west you go, them bears get real big, real
Yes,
fast.
yes. They do. They got more to eat, and they got more to survive, and bigger area. Bigger animals. Well, but this is the real picture of this is the Grizzly Adams he lived a long time, and this is probably the only picture of him in real life, and of course with a bear. So it wasn't like it was fake. He was a real man, and he really had bears. I mean, it kind of makes you wonder. The only other picture they have of him is a drawing, if my computer ever wants to work tonight, it doesn't seem to be going very fast. Um, this isn't going to do it. Huh. Come on.
So in the
And it's
picture
not going to
there,
do it.
he doesn't necessarily look frail, but
Yeah.
he doesn't look like he is a huge man, you know.
Yeah. Yeah. Um, I don't know, but we're going to find out as soon as I can get back to this. I don't know why this thing ain't working. But all my computer's just kind of freezing up here. And I don't know why. It's just really acting slow tonight. And I cannot figure out what the problem is. It's just not wanting to work. But we're going to plow on through regardless because that's what we do. And this is the other picture. This is the only other drawing. Remember, he lived back before cameras and he lived in time for cameras. So we're lucky we have a picture at all. But this was the picture they'd drawn of him with his bear and his mountain man out uniform thing, and of course he's got his black powder rifle. He's got the beard, and he looks like the TV character in a way, don't you
Yep.
think?
Yep, I could pass for him in a way.
Best we can imagine. You could. Where's your bear? Yeah, you could dress up and probably be just like it. Look at that. Very, very keen resemblance there. Um, sure you're not related?
I'm Grizzly Adams, I
Oh, anyway, we're gonna get on with Grizzly. That's right. His name was um, they call him John Grizzly Adams, and he became a legendary mountain man of the frontier. But John Borden Adams, well, he was born on October 22nd, 1812. In a rural town in Medway, Massachusetts. And he was a son of Eliza and Sybil Adams, a family of New England farmers and shoemakers with distant ties to President John and Quincy Adams. Believe it or not, times were came, there wasn't many people. You're going to be related to somebody, right?
Yep, back then.
Yeah, he was my cousin. Yeah, young John received little formal education, instead, learning the value of hard work early. And at 14, he apprenticed as a cobbler, hammering leather in a shoe factory. But this his heart wasn't in it. He was always wandering beyond the walls of the workshop. And as every teen, he felt the pull of the outdoors. Well, of course, back in that day, it wasn't too far to the outdoors.
I
And the
was going to
call of the
say,
wild,
beyond the walls of the workshop would have been like 12 feet, you know.
yeah,
But
yeah.
anyway,
I got,
go
I
ahead.
got, I go in my backyard and there's nobody for 40 miles. So that's
Yeah, really.
all I mean.
There's the ocean, and the other side is Indian. So,
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And so call it a wild. By 21, his restlessness caught up with him, and seeking adventure, John left the cobbler bench to pursue his true passion, nature and wildlife. Sounds exciting. Trading leather for buckskin, the brawny young New Englander joined a traveling menagerie as an animal handler. Huh, I didn't even know they would have such a thing back in the day. He tracked through the woods of Maine, Vermont, and New Hampshire, trapping live wild animals for circuses and zoo collections. Now that's got to be the job. Everybody else just shot their critters. He captured them alive. And
I can't hear you. Oh, what did he do? Freeze up?
Oh, and again, there goes my internet, you know. Where was I? Oh, the really important parts. Well, anyway, he had a harrowing incident with a Bengal tiger he was trying to train for his employer, only to be mauled and left with serious back injuries. He survived for months, bedridden, recovering from a near fatal mauling, and the ordeal did little to dull his adventurous spirit. By 1836, he had married a local woman. Good for you, Mr. Adams. Selina Dury, and would eventually have 3 children. But the domesticated life again wasn't for him. And life in Massachusetts as a shoemaker and family man could not hold him down. John Adams, yearning for the wilderness, he gazed into the eyes of a tiger and lived to tell the tale. And somewhere in his heart, well, the wild still beckoned him. So the call of the wild brought him out and away he went. And in 1849, destiny came pounding on John Adams' door in the form of California Gold Rush. Sensing the opportunity, he wanted to become a 49er, he sunk his life savings, over $6,000, into a stock of boots and shoes, intending to sell them for great profit to make a fortune on those 49ers heading west. Now, $6,000 back in those days, holy, how much do you think
Would
that
have
would
been
be
at
today?
least it would have been at least $60,000 worth now.
Yeah, back then, that's
At
a
least
huge sum of money.
$60,000 now in today's
Oh, yeah,
money.
if not more. But
Because
yeah, that's,
that's 10 times more. So, 6,000, 60,000. Okay, it at least that much. So he had a bunch load. And as a cobbler and a shoemaker, that right there is out. I don't care where you are, but if you're out in the boonies and you ain't got no shoes, you're gonna want some, and you're gonna trade whatever you got to get a pair of shoes. So that was a good profession to be in.
yeah, never thought of it like that.
Oh
Never
yeah.
thought of it.
I mean,
Shoes.
for every person that walked the Oregon Trail to get to Oregon, I bet you their shoes wore out by the time they got there. And so,
Yeah,
they were looking for a cobbler. And so yeah, even if he didn't take any shoes with him, which I think was his idea, was to take shoes with him. Is that right?
yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So okay, but yeah, that he was valuable. Yeah.
Hmm. Yeah. Huh. Interesting idea. Never thought of it. Been like, yeah, exactly. Well, let's move on. So, um, here he is. He's heading west. Uh, but fate dealt him a cruel blow. A catastrophic dock fire in St. Louis destroyed his entire shipment, wiping out his investment overnight. He didn't have insurance. The disaster was compounded by tragedy. John's father, who had financially backed the venture, was so devastated that he took his own life in despair. Wow, bad for him. Reeling from
Wow.
financial ruin and his father's suicide, 37 year, well, how he's 37 by now. 37-year-old John Adams felt he had lost everything and nothing left to lose. He was seized by what he called gold fever. He made his fateful decision, and he would head west to California, not just for gold, but for a new life in the untamed frontier. In the summer of 1849, he left behind his wife and young children in Massachusetts. Bye bye, I'm leaving. Hope you can support yourself, right?
Figure it out for yourself.
Promising to send them money back when he could. And he joined the wagon trains, rumbling towards the Wild West. The journey itself nearly killed him. That's a long ways to go. Adams trekked via the Santa Fe and the Gila trails across the harsh desert and the mountains. Twice he was struck down by near fatal illness or on the trail, surviving by sheer grit and recovery under open skies. Wow. Can you imagine getting sick and well, you're just stuck out under the stars? Oh, for
Yeah,
days. I'm sure
I
he,
mean, you're just kind of splayed out and laid out, and like, okay, what's next?
yeah, and your family ain't there to help you.
His
Oh,
family's back out, back east, and so who is his friend at that point in time?
yeah, exactly.
Because he,
And
he ain't got no relatives with him, or no
nope,
kinfolk or whatever.
at least not what they're telling us here. So he's basically all by himself, but he survived by sheer grit, of course. And by late 1849, he finally staggered into the booming goldfields of California. A prospector, a trader, a hunter, and supplying meat to miners. Whatever
But
it took.
now let's add that there were a lot of people along the way that obviously helped him, but
Yes, obviously.
he didn't
Somebody.
do it by himself. He had a lot of grit, but there were people that helped him along the way. You can bet you don't get sick twice on the trail without somebody helping you. So, but
Uh,
anyway, it makes it sound, yeah, he's heroic, but come on now, he had some help. But anyway, I'm sorry I interrupt with the dangest things.
that's all right. He found some success and just as often lost it. Boom and bust of the gold rush life toyed with him. For a time, he ran a ranch near Stockton and even employed other men. But by 1852, bad luck struck again, and swindled by partners and drowning in debt, Adams lost his ranch to creditors. Rather than sink into despair, he chose a bold escape. He packed what few possessions he had left onto an ox cart and headed into the Sierra Nevada mountains to get away from it all. And at age 40, this is 3 years later, John Adams turned his back on civilization. He trudged up into the high Sierras, growing an impressive shaggy beard. And you can see that kind of in this picture, but I imagine it was kind of more like that, like yours.
Yep,
But
this is about a year and a half
anyway,
long.
but by 1850, yeah, there you go. That would have been about right. Um, Well, he escaped into the wilderness and to get away from it. And at 40, he trudged up in the high Sierras, growing an impressive shaggy beard and training his eastern clothes for rugged buckskins, fully embracing the persona of a solitary mountain man. Oh, interesting. So he's kind of becoming a mountain man, even though he really kind of wasn't a mountain man. That's what I'm getting
Right.
from this.
And
Um,
anybody that
so
that
now he's,
lived out there, you had to wear buckskins because going through the brush and stuff, it would tear your clothes apart. So you had to wear buckskin. It was kind of sort of mandatory.
well, that and the regular clothes would probably rip or tear, and like you're gonna
Yep,
get your needle and thread and sew it up. So you're wearing,
exactly.
yeah, exactly. So there
Regular
you go.
clothes would have just been tore to shreds.
So in the high Sierra, in the Sierras, in Nevada, he's in Nevada. So if you know where that is, John Adams
Yep,
finally found the vast, untamed wilderness he had craved. With the help of friendly Miwok tribesmen, another Indian group, he built a log cabin and a stable deep in the mountains where few white men had ventured. Through brutal winter snows, he lived largely alone, surviving on his wits and woodmanship. Adams' old cobbler training even came in handy. He had handcrafted durable moccasins, buckskin clothing to replace what civilization had taken from him. Dressed in fringed a deer hide, rifle in hand, and a thick beard covering his face, he began to look every inch of the wild frontiersman of the legend that he's known for. He fed himself on nuts and berries and whatever game he could hunt, roaming miles of mountain terrain on foot and horseback. In time, he ranged wildly, trekking over 1,200 miles up into the Washington Territory on one long expedition. I guess 1,200 miles is, I would say, is an expedition. That's not like taking a walk down the lane or something.
Nope, that's right.
Unlike some luckless 49ers who turned bitter and even hunted Native Americans for bounties, Grizzly Adams, as he was coming to be known, formed a close relationship with indigenous people he met. He learned survival skills from the Miwok and other tribesmen, and often traded fairly with them. Round his campfire, Adams felt at peace under the stars. He had little gold to show for his years out west, but he had rediscovered his true wealth, a bond with the natural world, and a growing reputation as a fearless tracker, a hunter, and before long, however, John Adams would earn an even more famous claim to fame. Not as a killer of bears, but a man who could tame the fierce creatures of the wilderness. So that's where he gets his name. Now let's find out what happened here. In the summer of 1853, deep in the wild backcountry, Adams encountered a yearling female grizzly bear caught in one of his traps. Rather than kill the snarling youngster, he resolved to spare her life. Adams painstakingly calmed the bear and began to earn her trust. He named the bear Lady Washington, after his home territory, and astounded locals by managing to tame the wild creature. Over weeks and months, Lady Washington learned to follow Adams like a loyal hound, without any rope or chain. In time, he even taught the grizzly to carry a pack saddle with supplies. And in winter's deepest cold, the bear would snuggle up to her human companion, keeping him warm on frigid nights in the mountains. Hey, that's called an electric blanket, man. Feed it and stay warm, right? In an almost unbelievable feat, the giant she bear became so docile that she eventually allowed Adams to ride on her back like a horse. The image of a burly, bearded man astride an 800-pound grizzly traversing the Sierra Hills cemented John's legend. Locals began to call him Grizzly Adams, amazed at his almost magical knack for befriending beasts. Well, and as you can see, here's a depiction of him with the bear back in the day. Um,
I, you know,
well, and
I can
well, here's
see,
here's another.
there have
Okay, go
been
ahead.
bear tamers over the years, you know, from circus folk, and some of them, the
Mhm.
Russian, it's like a Russian grizzly bear. These things are huge, and they've had trainers over the Russian bears over the years. But this was before they got started.
Yeah.
I think he
So
might
I,
have
I got a
started
I
bear
got a good
training.
one for you. Here's a really interesting fact. Um, this bear that you see in the picture here, the one he trained, is a California grizzly, the one that you would see on the California flag, right?
Right,
You've seen the California state flag, and
right.
there's a picture of a grizzly bear. Did you know that grizzly bear, that species or that is extinct?
Really,
And yes, it's extinct. So the bear he trained is now extinct.
is one of the last grizzly bears of that type.
Well, not maybe not then, because I think the last one died out in somewhere in early 1900.
So he was walking around with a relic before he knew it. I think my friend froze up again.
I don't know why I keep freezing up, but it's the internet.
So
It's the internet.
is the the picture with him with the California grizzly? Were they a smaller bear?
They weren't quite like the big giant grizzlies. I guess they had a little bit different face or something. It was a different type of species, I suppose, because in the Sierra Nevada mountains and stuff, they would be more in the deserty kind of bear versus
Yeah,
the mountainous bear. So yeah, a little bit smaller. Because I think the grizzly bears in the west they get to be 1,200 pounds or better or more,
or
whereas this
more.
would
Yeah,
yeah
fifteen
this
hundred pounds. Yeah.
you can see the bear here in this picture that it isn't no ginormous bear either. If that's what we're thinking. But I just thought that was a kind of cool tidbit because I never knew that the grizzly on the California flag was actually extinct. Nobody thinks of that stuff. It's like, oh man, you all in the chat there, they're all saying, oh, I knew that, I live in California.
Oh,
Oh boy.
they
So
looked
let's
it
get
up
back.
on Wikipedia before you did.
They did, yeah. Okay, so back to Grizzly Adams. Grizzly Adams, he was a menagerie, quickly grew. In 1854, near Yosemite Valley, he bravely raided a grizzly den to retrieve two tiny twin cubs. Now that's taking your life in your hands. And after dispatching their enraged mother, yeah, that's why. Oh boy, one cub in particular, which Adams named Benjamin Franklin, or Ben for short. Maybe that was the Big Ben show that we used to watch. They had that
There
on
you
TV.
go. Yeah, because he was grizzly too, wasn't he? But then,
Gentle Ben. Remember that show? Gentle
yeah,
Ben. Um. Anyway, uh, Adams. Adams. He called him Ben for short, and would become uh, his favorite companion, and the most famous of his bears. Adams hand raised the orphan cub, even nursing it with a domesticated dog as a surrogate mother, which was kind of extreme. But anyway, under Adams' firm but caring training, Ben the Grizzly grew up gentle, at least towards his master. And in 1855, that bond was put to the ultimate test while out in the Sierra wilds. Adams was viciously attacked by a protective mother grizzly. The huge bear tore into John, ripping his scalp almost completely off and mauling him savagely. Adams later recounted that he was beaten to jelly, torn almost limb from limb, and nearly chawed up and spit out by the enraged grizzly. In the chaos of claws and blood, it was young Ben who rushed to his master's aid. The trusty bear cub bravely intervened, distracting the raging mother bear long enough for the grievously wounded Adams to grab his rifle and shoot her. Man and cub limped away alive, and each bore the scars of the battle for the rest of their lives. John's scalp had been partially torn off, and he never fully recovered from that head injury. And 5 years later, that wound it would prove fatal. But in the aftermath, he stitched his scalp back and recovered in his cabin. Grizzly Adams knew that his beloved bear Ben had saved his life, and the bond between man and beast grew only stronger. Huh? Yeah. So just think about it. If if a wild animal ripped your scalp off, could you just go back to your house and sew it up yourself? Would you do that?
if I didn't have any other alternative, I would. But I'm crazy like that. I had a fish hook in my eyelid one time, and I removed it myself. So and I've had other things that pierced my body that I've had to remove, and and sew up with duct tape. So yeah, but I can see where I can't see where he got the thread and the needle and was able to actually do it. But that's amazing right there.
Remember, he was a cobbler. He sewed all the time, sewing shoes.
Yeah, but he had to do everything by feel, by the way, because well, maybe he had a mirror, but a clumsy one at that back in those days. So
Oh
anyway,
yeah,
I got to give the guy credit. Got to give him credit for just surviving. But
yeah, yeah. I mean, but that happened a lot back then. Remember, some of these other guys got their ear ripped off, their scalp, ripped, and then the other guys got together. Here, sew my ear back on.
yeah,
My God. Let's keep going. I feel better. My ear's back. I had a day to rest. Stop bleeding now. Let's go. And then they would just get back out there and start going. Oh, man, oh, man. These guys were way tougher. They had more of a mindset than we do today, that's for sure.
they had
Oh,
that pioneer spirit, by golly.
oh yeah. Well, then let's move on. He he gets into more goings on, and by 1855, a word of a Grizzly Adams and his ferocious pet had spread through California, and curious folks would travel miles through the mountains hoping to catch a glimpse of the bearded mountain man and his trained bears. Even the shrewd showman, or even as a shrewd showman, Adams obliged them, he being staging impromptu exhibitions wherever he came into towns for supplies. In dusty frontier settlements like San Jose and Santa Clara, he unloaded his wagon and wooed the crowds with Lady Washington and of course General Fremont and the rest of his menagerie. So he had a bunch of bears, didn't he? I don't really know how many bears he had, but we'll find out. But townspeople watched in awe as Adams wrestled grizzlies, danced around with wolves. Wow, he had wolves too, or demonstrated how his bears would sit, follow, and perform tricks on command. These rough and tumble shows, often under nothing but the open sky or a makeshift tent, were the first taste of show business for Grizzly Adams, and he loved it. Wow, can you imagine? Well, I tamed some wolves and I tamed some bears, and I'm going to show off for all these people. And today, and you'd have a fence between them and you. You don't take
Oh,
the tigers out of the cage while you're doing tricks, do you?
well, and imagine this now. He's in his horse and wagon, so he's like, giddy up, and he's got maybe, something in the back of the wagon, one of the critters, and he's got the bear behind, and he's got the wolf, galloping along, and it's like, and so
Yep.
you pull into town, and he goes, okay, now stay with the wagon as he goes inside the general store. And everybody in town's going to know you're there because
Yeah.
there's a hey, well, there's a guy with a bear and a couple of wolves. That must be Grizzly Adams. Holy crap! And so before you knew it, everybody wanted to see what the deal was with bears, and the women are going, "Oh look!" And so he didn't have to send out flyers to advertise. All he
No,
had to
no.
do was stroll into town to go get supplies. And so,
That's
he just like, pass the hat, ladies and gentlemen, help me feed the bear. And oh, here we go. And here's 2 cents. So, but yeah, so and
yep.
I'm sitting here thinking about it, and it's like, as a as an ex carney, and well, I guess I'm still a carny. I just don't have a carnival, but and and a puppeteer and storyteller and traveling around like that, for him to have wolves and bears, ooh, tigers and bears, oh my, so that must have been fantastical.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I do believe it, because man, a guy like that pulls into town, be calling the neighbors. Come see, Ma. See, come on. Hey,
Yep.
sis, come on here. See what's going on. There's a man
They
with a bunch of bears in his wagon.
they would have a runner, literally. The young kids, you seen them on, in the westerns, but they would be the runners. So they'd go and knock on doors and, hey, such and blah blah blah, and before you know it, they had made the whole end of town and was coming back the other side. So yeah, they
Yep.
could stir up a bunch of commotion quick.
Yep. So where did that get him? Where did it get him? And in 1856, Adams finally brought the wild to the city. He hauled his collection of live bears and assorted beasts to San Francisco, the booming metropolis of the gold rush, and opened a proper exhibition. His first Mountaineer Museum was set up in a basement on Clay Street, where patrons paid to see the famed mountain man and his forest crew. The exhibits featured not only live animal performances, but also curiosities and artifacts Adams had gathered. The promotion from friend and writer Theodore H. Hiddle in the Evening Bulletin, the show's popularity exploded. He soon moved to a larger venue, proudly christened the Pacific Museum, to accommodate his even bigger audiences and more animals. Newspapers hailed him as the Barnum of the Pacific, comparing him to the greatest showman P.T. Barnum back east. Grizzly Adams had gone from solitary trapper to headline attraction in the big city. But despite the success, these years were bittersweet. And in January 1858, Adams' beloved Ben, the bear that had saved his life, fell ill and died, despite all efforts to cure him. John was heartbroken, mourning the loss of his closest friend. Still, the show went on daily. Adams channeled his grief into more daring and performances with his remaining bears. He also kept expanding the exhibit with new creatures and attractions to draw crowds. However, the cost of feeding numerous large animals, the strain of daily shows took on a toll on his finances. And by 1859, mismanagement and debt caught up with him again. Adams lost his museum building to creditors, nearly mirroring the collapse he had suffered years before. Every resource he salvaged most of his animals and staged his show out of a smaller temporary space. But it was clear to the aging mountain man that his time was running out. Years of wrestling grizzlies and surviving one near fatal mishap after another had left him physically broken. His old grizzly inflicted head wound throbbed constantly, and his health was deteriorating. Well, of course, by now he's getting old. And Grizzly Adams began to contemplate a final act, and that could secure his family's future before the wilderness finally claimed him. So, not like the TV show, that's for sure. You know.
Now let me ask a
So,
question here. If there's a slight pause. You said that he had lost his business like what had happened before. Now, what you read before was that he closed his business and took $6,000 and headed west. Didn't say any. The story didn't say anything about how that he lost his business. By
oh
the
yeah,
way.
yes it did. He said he had a ranch. Remember, lost that to creditors,
Oh
and then
no,
he
I
had.
missed the ranch part.
Oh
Okay,
yeah,
never
yeah. He
mind.
had a ranch, and he tried to do other things too. And then it said he had this ranch, and he lost that to creditors because on and on.
Oh, I'm
Apparently, this
sorry.
guy didn't have all the reading and writing and mathematical skills as some of these other guys, because
Yeah,
he seems.
he needed to know how to cipher, huh? Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
exactly. So he's trying to strike it rich, and so what does he do? He's gonna in 1859, John Grizzly Adams knew he was living on borrowed time. He had been separated from his wife, Selena, and children for over a decade, and guilt weighed on him. Determined to provide for them one last time. You mean his wife is still waiting in Massachusetts for him with the kids?
I
Oh,
was
I'm
going
just.
to ask, did he ever send money back? But, you know,
Oh man, I can just imagine. Oh man, I've been waiting for my husband for over 10 years, and he still hasn't come back. I hope he's doing well. he
oh,
sends me
Grizzly, you came home with half a scalp. Oh, look at you.
yeah, he sends me a couple of dollars every few weeks or so or months or something, so I know
Or
he's
every
still
few
alive.
years.
I miss you, Selena, so much. You and the kids. Are you all grown up now? Selena, are you getting gray in the hair? Oh, please wait for me. Keep the light
Could you
on for me.
imagine knock, knock, knock on the door and it's like, who are you? You know, I'm
Yeah,
your long lost husband. That'd be like Rip Van Winkle in a way.
it would. He would come back all mangled and beaten and half scalp ripped off, saying, "Oh, honey," she'd look at him one time and say, "Oh my God, get the heck out of here."
Honey, I'm home.
Yeah, I know. Oh, jeez. Well, let's
Man, oh
find out what
man.
happened to him here. Oh boy, yeah. He arranged to join the famous showman P.T. Barnum, whose name was synonymous with spectacular circus exhibitions, hoping to cash in on his frontier fame in January 1860. Despite his failing health, the 47-year-old Adams loaded his remaining bears, animals, and collection onto a clipper ship named the Golden Fleece. They set sail from San Francisco, rounding Cape Horn on a grueling 3.5-month voyage to New
Woo
York.
wee.
Many men would not dream of transporting live grizzlies by sea around the tip of South America. Yeah, this was before the Panama Canal. But Adam's life had never been ordinary. He arrived in New York in April 1860 with his menagerie intact and his spirit unbroken. But in New York City, Adams joined forces with P.T. Barnum and erected a big top tents near Broadway and 4th Street. Wow. When there was no skyscrapers, you could erect tents there. How about that? And for 6 weeks that spring, Eastern audiences flocked to see the legendary Grizzly Adams and his California menagerie perform in Barnum Circus. City dwellers gasped at the sight of the rough-hewn mountain man in buckskins who commanded bears to dance and act out wild wrestling matches with hulking grizzlies night after night. Adams, who took the stage despite the blinding pain in his forehead, his old head injury had never healed. Gaping wound above his right eye oozed under the bandana he had tied around his brow.
Yuck.
In the frenzy of performances, the showman in him ignored the pain and played up his frontier exploits to the crowd's delight. It's amazing what you'll do when you're in front of a crowd. I can't imagine. Your head's pounding, ooze is dripping down your face. You're hurting, but you're out there wrestling a grizzly. You know, do
And
anything
he
I'm
and
thinking.
he and he was probably by the end of it was like, look, see my head wound? I mean, he was
Yeah,
probably exploiting it, especially if it was oozing. You know what I mean? So it's
yeah,
like, yuck, oh my God. And the women screaming, oh my God, but anyway.
I know. Why it was called the Wild Man. He marveled at. He was called the Wild Man of California, and his trained beast, knowing uh, the end, they knew the end was near. Adams negotiated to sell his entire menagerie to Barnum for a lump sum, enough to finally ensure his wife and children would be financially secure. It's kind of like cashing in his insurance policy. Barnum, sensing both the value and the morality of his star's attraction, agreed to the purchase the animals. But Adams had one last wish. He insisted on performing a big bit longer, pushing himself through an additional 10-week engagement in exchange for a $500 bonus. Incredibly, sheer willpower carried him through those final 10 weeks. By the end The once strapping mountain man was so weak he could barely limp out under the spotlight, but he did it. He fulfilled the contract and earned his family's reward. Wow. Well, his health was declining. Not even Grizzly Adams' iron will could fend off his declining condition for long. The toll of the years of injuries now descended upon him at once. Back in California in 1855, the mother's bear's attack had left him with depressed fracture in his skull. Literally, a piece of his forehead was missing under the scalp that never properly reattached. Figured that was something like that. He often covered the oozing wound with his trademark beaver skin cap. That's why he's always pictured with the cap. During his circus show, the wound had been badly aggravated. And one day, as Adams playful sparring with his pet grizzly, General Fremont, in the ring, the bear swiped it and accidentally reopened the old gash, exposing the bone once more. Ooh, yuck. Ooh, ugh. On another occasion, a monkey, a capuchin monkey, in the circus, climbed into Adams or on his shoulder and bit directly into the wound, causing a serious infection. Yeah, them darn monkeys. Uh, by the late summer of 1860, after touring New England and another traveling circus troupe, John Adams would hardly stand from illness and dizziness. A doctor warned him that if he did not stop and rest, he wouldn't even live to see the winter. Grizzly Adams had tempted fate too many times, and his legendary strength was finally at its limit. In October 1860, having completed his final performances, Adams returned to Massachusetts to reunite with his long-lost estranged family. Go figure. Wow. Honey, I'm home. He arrived at his wife's home in Nipisset near Boston. Neponset, I guess it is. Yeah, I know. Lucky will tell me what it is here. Near Boston. That's good enough. A gravely ill man on October 25th, 1860, just 5 days after making it home, John Grizzly Adams died in his own bed at the age of 48. The official cause of his death was likely meningitis or infection stemming from the head trauma that had never healed. I don't think that monkey biting his head actually helped him at all. And in a final gesture of respect, P.T. Barnum, who had grown fond of the tough old showman, paid for Adams' funeral and a marble tombstone to mark his grave. Well, Grizzly Adams was laid to rest in Bay Path Cemetery in Charlton, Massachusetts, buried alongside his mother, father, and other family. Thus ended the extraordinary life of a man who had wrestled nature itself and earned a place in the pantheon of American frontier legends.
And a marble tombstone.
Yes, uh, you know, I, so this is a kind of a thing. It's like, wow. Let's see here. It says here, I got notes. The essence of Adams' character, a man, wilderness, and a near mythical bond with animals, captured America's imagination. And in California, his legacy literally became part of the landscape. And in 1911, he was celebrated in the Western Hall of Fame. And one of his grizzlies, Samson, was memorialized by artist Charles Null in a painting that inspired the bear image on California's state flag. So there you go. Every California schoolchild who sees the proud grizzly on the flag is indirectly gazing at Grizzly Adams' bear. Wow. So that's even a little more than I was trying to tell you earlier. So over the years, his legend grew only more. Frontier towns kept alive the memory of the bearded bear tamer who once walked among them. In Charlton, Massachusetts, where Adams was buried, the local middle school proudly calls its sports teams the Grizzlies in honor of the town's famed mountain man. Interesting. The town of Charlton still tells tales of how their very own Grizzly Adams could gently wild beast, and an annual local festival celebrates the rustic pioneer spirit he embodied. Out west, the image of Grizzly Adams became a symbol of the old California frontier, a reminder of a time when one man single handedly faced the wilderness and came out alive, bearing its scars and its secrets. Well, and then, of course, we have the 1972 novel and a film called The Life and Times of Grizzly Adams, introduced to millions of people who had never heard the real John Adams. Um, the character as portrayed by Dan Haggerty, that's the guy, in the hit TV series. That's the one we see on the screen here. The show hit in NBC series in 1977 and 78, was a gentle, peace-loving mountain man falsely accused of a crime, living in harmony with grizzly bear named Ben. Wow. So, yeah, the thing didn't go off. So, I mean, it wasn't really about Grizzly Adams. Anyway, each and
No,
every
but
week,
it was better
you
than
know,
nothing. But anyway,
oh, so other films shows followed, and they, even they also portrayed Grizzly Adams in other Western films too. So he made cameos in, being Grizzly Adams in other movies, which mean, he was all over the place. I think that was it's one of those things that, it's just cool because who doesn't want to know, about Grizzly Adams and how, you know what I'm saying? It's
yeah.
kind of a thing because I think people do. They want they, to be like that, be that cool, person that I don't know what you want to call it. But anyway, it's just the point that he really oh, there we go. Why that is he really made a
Well,
name for himself. I mean, think of it. He
yeah.
died at
Back in,
40,
go ahead.
and he died at 48, but he left home at 37. So he was actually only gone 11 years. And I mean, I still think, yeah, honey, I'm leaving home. I'll be back in a little while. And then he comes back and he just dies 5 days later. Uh, did the wife's nagging kill him? Oh, honey, you're home. You see that pile of garbage there? You haven't taken the garbage since you
Do you
left.
see that pile of garbage at the back door? That's all your fault.
Yeah, you better get busy.
Yep.
And are you going to get a job now? You got kids to support.
Where is your back child support? I'm going to
Yeah,
take you to court. We're going to the magistrate. And
yeah,
I don't know
exactly.
if divorce is legal by this time, but that's what oh, you're going to die? Never mind.
You got insurance policy? Oh,
Yeah, well, the fact that he did come back, and the fact that he did, sell his menagerie, and the fact that he worked for 10 weeks for $500, because that $500, you know, times 10, that's 5 grand back then. So that
yes,
was a good sum of money. And so,
it was.
depending on how long his wife lived, after that, but,
I
you
wonder how
know,
much. I wonder how much he got for his menagerie.
right.
All those
That's
bears.
what
I bet you he
more
got.
than $500, I would wager.
Yeah, yeah. But that had to be
Because
another thing. Traveling, getting there to New York. He was like one of those first, like a Buffalo Bill Wild West show kind of thing.
oh yeah,
Bringing
he
the wild.
well, Buffalo Bill, and what was the other guy's name? But
Texas
anyway,
Jack
uh,
and
yeah, and the fact I didn't think that Barnum and Bailey was went back that far. I thought it was closer to the turn of the century, but wow, Barnum and Bailey has been around a long time. They still have a circus, by the way, that
Yep,
travels, the
yep,
Ringling Brothers. Um,
yep,
but so yeah, the fact that he could swag a deal with P.T. Barnum, the guy, that's famous for, making deals,
yep.
that he felt was good enough to leave as an insurance policy. I don't know. Maybe the deal wasn't so sweet and he had to work 10 more weeks to make it right. You know what I mean?
Oh,
It's like, well, I sold my stuff for, $1,000 and it's worth more than that. But, you know,
well, he also knew that he didn't have long for this world, and what are you going to do with a bunch of bears out east? You got bears and wolves and who knows what else. What are you doing with
well, but,
those critters? You're old. You're
but,
gonna, I mean, really, he wasn't that old, but
right. And something else, though, knowing that he was probably not long for the world, thus the reason for leaving, an insurance policy, then, like many people, it's like, what else would I do before I die? What, go lay in a bed until I'm dead, or or go
yeah,
until I can't go no more, and then that's when I go. So
yeah,
I'm for the latter. Go until you can't go no more.
and he
If
did.
I go to the swamp and I have a heart attack while I'm kayaking and can't make it back to shore, then I had a good time. While I was here. You know, so not that that's what I want, but to the point, there have been people who just they do what they do. Honey, you can't do that, and they drop dead. So, but I had a
That's
friend of
true.
mine about 10 years ago, and he came to my mind, and not to be rude or gross, but Wakely Carlock was a good friend of mine. I worked with him for about 7 years, and he went into the kitchen one afternoon on a Saturday to make himself a sandwich, and was standing there at the counter and just dropped to the floor dead. So
Wow.
he never went to the doctor for it or nothing, and it was like he just went straight to the floor, and that was it. So we never know when the good Lord's going to take us, and but the thing is to go while you got it, you know. So I
This is
think, in my opinion, he did what he could do, the only thing he knew to do for the last 10 years, and sheer willpower, he made it till the end of that 10 weeks. So
mhm,
Grizzly Adams, there you go. He was a tough old pioneer.
that's right. Right, to go out in the mountains and catch bears and tame them down. Just being, what? Just being out there is tough enough. I mean, he was a 49er, ran a ranch, was a shoe cobbler, had a family, man, sailed around the Horn of the Horn of South America. Oh my
And that
gosh.
was, it's tough to this day to go around the Horn of South America. That's why
Yeah,
there's so many people lined up at the Panama Canal, because um,
right.
and the reason it's so bad is because um, it's the difference between the Pacific Ocean and the Atlantic Ocean. They come together down there, and there are monstrous waves. On a good day, there are 20-foot waves, and there are a lot of
Yep,
storms that happen down around there too. So going around the Horn of South America is tough.
it is. I agree. I agree. It's not something you want to do every day. But with that in mind, um, we're gonna segue off Grizzly Adams. Everybody, go check out Grizzly Adams for yourself. Go watch his TV show. It was a good one. It's probably playing on Netflix or something. I don't know, but I'm sure it's on YouTube somewhere. Somebody's got it. But
Not,
go check it out.
yeah, probably on
It was a good.
YouTube.
It was a good show. Um, Dan Haggerty really did put on a good performance with that, and it was about him, being running from the law, which makes no sense when the real Grizzly Adams didn't. I think it would have probably been more entertaining if he just was wandering around with his menagerie of animals, but that would be kind of hard to film. So who knows?
Yeah, I mean,
But
then they could have just said, they could have said maybe his wife died in the East and he moved west, versus
yeah,
he had to run from the law, But
yeah,
anyway, they still do that kind of mess to make a story interesting. So, but anywho,
yep. So we're gonna segue into the story now. We
and
got, of
listen,
course,
I made a mistake earlier. The story I gave you about the boy and his thoughts was last week's story.
oh, was?
Yeah,
Oh,
remember? It was last week's story.
oh, yeah,
So
yeah, yeah.
we have to skip ahead
Yep.
to the next
Uh,
story.
I know, computer's slow. Trying to get
And
it here.
so the next story up is Great Heart and the Three Tests.
Great Heart
Yeah,
and
if
the
you're
Three
watching this
Tests.
show, you need to go back a week and listen to the other story. The boy who did things with his thoughts. So
Oh,
did you
just
skip
gotta wait
it?
for my computer to catch up here. It's a little bit slow.
Oh, I was going to
Yeah,
say,
I'm getting. I had it all up, but it's just not working for me. The computer isn't. It's my computer's slow. The Great Heart and the Three Tests.
yep.
Okay. Sorry about that. I don't know why this computer is so slow today. It
Oh,
is
no worries,
just
my
not.
friends.
Oh yeah. I hope everybody's
So,
doing good, checking
yep,
things out. But here we go with a story. Don't worry. We'll have cards in a little while. Get your guesses in.
yep.
So here we go. Hang on. It's a
All you
little
great,
wheel don't
wonderful
even want to
people
work.
in the chat and the folks that come every week and visit with us, and to also to those folks who just might show up once or twice, we greet greatly we greatly appreciate it. I hope I can read this story. Goodness gracious me.
Apps.
I'm still getting used to my new
I'll make
eyeballs.
it big on the screen.
Oh, that you know
Yeah.
what?
Yeah. Well, that
That was
that's the thing. Some days pretty soon you
oh
won't even
that
need
helped.
those glasses.
Oh,
What?
let's see. Um, Making it a little bit bigger.
Oh.
The computer shuts down by itself every once in a while, and I have to reset everything. You know how you're having troubles tonight, so you know how it goes.
Oh, I
But
do.
so anyway, whenever you're ready, my friend, I'm set up here. And again, I will warn
Well, I'm
folks.
ready.
My eyes are still adjusting to their new lenses, and sometimes I lose my place. It just things get uh, a little gluey. It's like
That's
looking
right.
it's like looking through water, and it's just like what. But anyway, so I'm still getting used to my new lenses on my eyeballs, and so. But are we ready yet?
Yeah. We
You
are
found
ready. You're.
you found the spot?
Yep.
Okay.
I
Well
found.
then, ladies
It's
and
all up, ready to
gentlemen,
go.
all right, without further ado, ado, um, this week's story is Greatheart and the Three Tests. And I'm still reading from the book of stories, Glooskap's Country and Other Indian Tales by Cyrus Macmillan from 1922, over 102 years ago. So, here we go. Greatheart and the Three Tests. Somewhere Near the sea in olden times, a boy was living with his father and mother. He had no brothers or sisters. His father was a great hunter, and the boy inherited something of his power, for he was always very successful in the killing of game. And his mother said, "Some day he will be a great man, for before his birth a vision came to me in the night and told me that my son would win wide fame, and fairy gifts were laid by the fairies in his cradle." And his father, listening to her boasting, said, time will tell, but if he is to be a great man, it is his own deeds and not your boasting that must prove it. As the boy grew up, he became strangely beautiful, and he had great strength. And his father said, "It is time he set out to seek his fortune. I was in the forest doing for myself when I was no older than he." And his mother said, "Wait a little and be not so impatient. He is young and there is yet much time." So the boy remained at home a while longer. Now it happened that far away in a distant village there lived a young girl of very great beauty and grace. Her father had been a great chief, but he was now dead. Her mother, too, was dead, and she was all alone in the world. But her parents had left her vast lands and a great store of goods and many servants. And because of her treasures and her great beauty, she had many suitors. But she was not easily pleased by men, and on all who came to seek her hand, she imposed severe feats of skill to test their sincerity and their worth. So she was carefully guarded by an old woman and many servants who kept troublesome and meddlesome people away. Soon the fame of the girl's wealth and beauty spread through all the land. It reached the seacoast village where the young man dwelt. Her father thought to himself, "Here is a good chance for my son to prove his worth." So he called his boy to him and said, "It is time you were setting out to seek your fortune in the world and to find a wife, for your springtime is passing and your summer of life will soon be here. And before you know it, your autumn will be upon you and your winter will be near. There is no time to lose. Seek out the beautiful girl of the rich treasures in the distant inland village and try to win her as your wife." And his mother gave to him the fairy gifts which had been laid in his cradle at his birth. And he said goodbye to his parents and set out on his long journey. He had no misgivings, for he was very vain of his beauty, and he was sure, too, of his strength. As he traveled inland, he came one day upon a man clad in scarlet, sitting on the side of a rocky hill, tying stones to his feet. "Hello," he said to the man, "why are you tying these heavy rocks to your ankles?" "I am a hunter," replied the man, "but when I follow the deer, I run so fast that I am soon far out in front of them instead of behind them. And I am putting heavy weights on my feet so that I will not run so rapidly." "You are indeed a wonderful man," said the boy. But I am alone and I need a companion. Let us go together. Who are you? Said the man. I am lad of the great heart, said the boy, and I can do great deeds, and I can win for you great treasure. So the scarlet runner went along with him. Towards evening, when they were now far inland, they came to a large lake. Among the trees on the fringe of the lake, a large fat man was lying flat on his stomach with his mouth in the water, drinking as hard as he could. For some time they watched him, but still he drank, and the lake grew smaller and smaller, and still his thirst was not quenched. They laughed at such a strange sight, and as they approached him, the boy said, "Hello! Why do you lie there drinking so much water?" "Oh," answered the fat man, "there are times when I cannot get enough water to drink. When I have drunk this lake dry, I shall be thirsty." "Who are you?" asked the boy. "I am man of the great thirst," said the fat man. "That is well," said Greatheart. "We too need a third companion. We can do great deeds and we can win for you great treasure." So the three men went along together. They had not gone far when they came to a wide open plain, where they saw a man walking along with his face raised upwards, peering at the sky. He moved along rapidly and seemed to find his way without his eyes, for he gazed steadily at the heavens. "Hello," said Greatheart, as the sky gazer rushed past him and almost knocked him over. "What are you looking at so intently?" "Oh," said the man, "I have shot an arrow into the sky, and I am waiting for it to fall. It has gone so far that it will be some time before it drops." "Who are you?" asked the boy. "I am the far darter," said the sky gazer. "We need a fourth companion," said the boy. "We can do great deeds and win for you much treasure. Come along with us." So the four went along together. They had gone but a short distance across the plain to the edge of a forest when they came upon a man lying down at full length with his head upon his hand. The edge of his hand was on the ground, and it was half closed around his ear, which rested upon it. As he saw the four men approaching him, he placed a finger of his other hand upon his lips and signaled to them to keep quiet. "Hello," said Greatheart in a whisper. "What are you doing there with your ear to the ground?" "I'm listening to the plants growing far away in the forest," he answered. "There is a beautiful flower I wish to find, and I'm trying to hear it breathing so that I may go and get it. Aha! I hear it now." So saying, he rose from the ground. The boy said, "Who are you?" "I am Keen Ears," said the listener. "We four need another companion," said Greatheart. "We can do great deeds and win for you much treasure. Come along with us." So the four men and the boy went along together. Keen Ears and Scarlet Runner and Far Daughter and man of the great thirst, and lad of the great heart. Then Greatheart unfolded to the others his plan to win the beautiful girl who lived with her treasures in the distant village, and they gladly agreed to help him in his dangerous undertaking. When they reached the village, the people were all very curious when they saw the five strangers. They marveled at Greatheart's beauty. But when they heard that he wished to marry the daughter of the former chief, they shook their heads gravely and said, "It will never be. She places hard conditions on all those who seek her hand. He who fails in the tests is doomed to death. Many suitors have tried and failed and died." But Greatheart was not alarmed, and with his four companions he went to the girl's home. The old woman who guarded her met him at the door, and he made known his wishes. She laughed scornfully when she saw his great beauty and said, "You look more like a girl than like a warrior. You cannot endure the tests." But the young man insisted on making the trials. The old woman said, "If you fail in the test, you will die." Then Greatheart said, "It is so agreed." And then the woman said, "If you wish to win the maiden, you must first push away this great rock from before her window." "It keeps the sunlight from her in the mornings." Then Greatheart, calling to his aid the fairy gifts of his cradle, placed his shoulder against the huge stone which rose higher than the house, and he pushed with all his strength. With a mighty crash, it rolled down the hill and broke into millions of pieces. The bits of rock flew all over the earth. So great was the fall, and the great pebbles and stones that came from it are seen throughout the world to this day. The sunlight streamed at the window, and the maiden knew that the first test had been successfully passed by a suitor. Then came the second test. The old woman and her servants brought great quantities of food and drink and bade the strangers consume it all at one meal. They were very hungry, for they had eaten nothing all day, and they easily ate up the food. But when Greatheart saw the great barrels of water, his spirits sank, and he said, "I fear I am beaten." But the man of great thirst said, "Not so fast, my friend. The spell of great stomach burning is again upon me. I am very dry, and if there was a fire in my belly, give me a chance to drink." He went from barrel to barrel, and in a twinkling he had drained them all of every drop, and the people wondered greatly. But there was still another test. "You must have one of your party run a race," said the old woman to Greatheart, and she brought out a man who had never been beaten in running. "Who is your choice of runners?" she asked. "He must race with this man, and if he wins you may have the maiden for your wife, and all the treasure with her, for this is the final test. But if he loses the race, you shall die." Greatheart called upon Scarlet Runner to the mark, and told the old woman that this was the man selected. Then he untied the rocks from the runner's feet, and when all was ready, the race began. The course lay far across the plains for many miles until the runners should pass from sight and back again to the starting point. The two runners kept together for some distance, talking together in a friendly way as they ran. When they had passed from sight of the village, the maiden's runner said, "Now we are out of sight of the village. Let us rest here for a while on this grassy bank, for the day is hot." The scarlet runner agreed to this, and they both stretched out on the grass. Now this was an old trick of the maiden's runner, for who always won by craft rather than by speed. They had not laid down long on the grass when Scarlet Runner fell asleep under the hot sun, just as his rival had hoped. When the latter was sure that his rival was sound asleep, he set out for the village, running as fast as he could. The people soon saw their runner approaching, far off on the plains, but there was no sign of the stranger, and they thought that the new suitor for the girl's hand had at last failed like all the others before him. Great Heart was much puzzled when Scarlet Runner did not appear, and then when he saw the maiden's runner coming nearer, he said, "What can have happened? I fear I am beaten." But Keen Ears threw himself flat on the ground and listened. "Scarlet Runner is asleep," he called. "I hear him snoring on the plains far away." And with his keen sense of sound, he located the exact spot where the runner was lying. "I will soon wake him," said Far Daughter, as he fitted an arrow to his bowstring. The people all thought him mad, for they had never seen an arrow shot so great a distance beyond their sight. But Far Darter was not dismayed. He quickly shot an arrow from his bow to the spot which Keen Ears had indicated. His aim was so true that the arrow hit Scarlet Runner on the nose and aroused him from his sleep. But when he rose to his feet, he found that his rival was gone, and he knew that he had been deceived. So, in a great rage because of the trick and the pain in his nose, he set out for the village running like the wind. His rival had almost reached the end of the race, but by putting all his strength into his effort, Scarlet Runner quickly overtook him and passed him near the winning post and won the race. And the people wondered greatly at these great deeds of the strangers. Then the old woman said to Greatheart, "You have won the maiden as your wife, for you alone has succeeded in these tests." So the two were married with great ceremony. Greatheart gave much treasure to his companions, and they promised to help him always in his need. Then, with his wife and her servants and her great store of goods, he went back to his native village by the sea. His father and mother were glad to see him again and to hear of his success. And his mother said, "I told you you would win great fame because of the fairy gifts that were laid in his cradle at birth." And they all lived together and were henceforth very happy. The end. They lived happily ever after. They all lived together and were henceforth very happy. So, a very interesting story. And the thing is that, you know, he didn't win by deception. He used, his thoughts and his skills. He got
Mhm.
Scarlet Runner to run for him. He got Keen Ear to help him out. He got Far Darter, which is hard to say together. Far Darter. It sounds weird, but anyway. And, so the fact that he kind of sort of planned it out. Now, he must have had a little bit of forward information, like what might those tests be. But anyway, um, he won by his wits and friends, and he held up his bargain and gave them riches and treasures, and they lived happily ever after. That's pretty good. He could have
That is so
become a
true.
wicked old king, and put everybody to shame, and used the riches to buy an army and conquered the next village. There could have been a bunch of other ways that after he, you know, um, won the maiden's hand in marriage. And was she really beautiful? We'll never know. They say she was.
Oh, the maidens are always beautiful. Yeah,
Yep, those
but
maidens in the.
hey, otherwise he would have pushed that rock away together and he would have said, "Hey boys, time to go. Why are we leaving?"
He
You
might
take
have
a
looked
look
around
after I
and said,
push the
"Why'd
rock
y'all
away.
break that? Why did you break that rock? Drag that sucker back up here and close this window up." I done took a look at her. I don't want
That's right.
another one.
Yeah,
She
and
could have been
hey,
so.
farther starter, get over here and you you do something important, right?
She could have been big time ugly. She put ugly to
Yeah,
shame.
yeah. I don't want to win that maiden. You run that race, you fall asleep, you just stay sleeping, man. I don't want to. I don't want. We're gonna run away. We're all gonna run.
I could see him at the finish line going like this. Slow down. Slow
Yeah,
down.
but you're gonna get
Wait a
killed
minute.
and die.
Go back.
It's
Slow
better.
down.
You're gonna get killed if I don't win. I'm gonna get
Yeah,
killed if you
it's
do
like,
win.
well, wait a minute. Like, oh, that's right. If we don't win, we die. Oh, yeah. Well, better win.
Yeah, but I win.
I'll
You
just
die
put a
too.
bag over her head if she's too ugly.
Right.
So, but anyway, so, oh,
Oh,
goodness gracious.
you
How do
have
we
to be
know
beat.
she was pretty at all?
I
They,
know.
they never, what is beautiful? What is beautiful to these folks, I
Yeah.
guess.
No, I agree. I agree. Back in the day, who knows? You know, Could
We
be
do
some.
know what the wicked old witch looks like. We don't want
Yep.
her nappy butt in there. So
Hmm. So we got some cards for tonight. Everybody, get your guesses in now, because we're I'm picking. I'm picking bear.
I'm
Original
shuffling cards.
bear, wolf, elk, butterfly. That's my picks for tonight. Maybe I'll pick something odd. I'm gonna go with weasel. Yeah,
Platypus.
huh? Platypus. Yeah, there's no platypus.
Yeah, which we don't have. So, pick one that we don't have, Dave.
There,
Badger. We do have badger.
we have a badger, yes, and no, that we don't have a platypus. We don't have a dingo. There's no cockatoo on there, and there's no. We do have an ant. No,
Yeah, there's no
you can't put.
chicken. But there is
Yeah, no grouse.
what is it that dances in
Grouse.
circles? The grouse. So we do have
Yes.
grouse. We do have turkey. So, we do have representatives of the fowl,
We have swan.
the fowler pair.
We have swan too.
Oh,
Swans
yeah,
come
that's
up.
right. We do. So,
Hummingbird.
anyway,
We
okay.
haven't had
So, I've got
hummingbird in a
my,
while. I'm going with hummingbird. We haven't had hummingbird in a while. There you go. Those are my picks.
so I'm going through L cards, and we're going to see what shows up here. What did you just ask for?
Hummingbird, bear, and hummingbird. Oh, I knew it. I was right on tonight. Hummingbird. There you go.
Now,
Hummingbird.
ladies and gentlemen, I can't see these cards, okay? And I just shuffled them good for the last couple of minutes. And hummingbird, I did not stack the deck, didn't count how many there were to the no. So that came up on its own. All right.
Yeah. I got bear,
I
weasel,
can't
and
stress enough how that came up on its own, which I'm sitting here going, son of a gun,
talking
and
about birds.
just
And I
like,
said,
all right. So
what do we got?
the next one up at the moment is beaver.
Beaver
Looks like a
again. Have we had
bear.
beaver?
We haven't had beaver a couple of weeks,
Yeah, we had
but
beaver. We had beaver a couple weeks ago. Isn't it something how the same ones keep coming up? They come up quite often for like a big long stretch. They'll come up for like 6 8 weeks at a time, and then all of a sudden they drop off. I don't know why that happens.
yeah. Though here's one that was up week before last, eagle, and it's upside down, which it was eagle
Oh, eagle,
upside
yeah.
down, but back before. So what that tells me, it's a repetition or a strengthening of what it meant then. You ain't
Yep.
gonna believe this. I swear to God,
Oh,
I shuffled this deck. I can't
badger,
see the cards. They're upside down.
buff,
Want to guess what it is?
buffalo. No,
Hawk.
hawk. Oh, we had a hawk a couple weeks ago there.
Yeah, but I mean, in the book, eagle is number one and hawk
We
is
had
number
hawk
two.
and eagle.
Yeah, recently. So I mean, but the fact that I'm Hawkeye and there's the
Yeah.
hawk, I did not pick this. I'm not looking at these cards. So I'm sitting here going, son of a gun. You wanted hummingbird, and I wasn't necessarily looking for a card, but when hawk shows up, I go, well, maybe I should pay attention.
Well,
So maybe the the
we got a lot
message
of
is,
birds.
yeah, really, three.
A lot of
Three
birds.
birds and a
Yeah.
beaver. And that's only
Yep.
four cards, and I'm almost through the deck. So
Hmm.
I'm not sure. Hmm.
Okay, not sure. Pick a card.
It it might be a twofer. Um, there's frog upside down. Um,
Frog.
and yeah, frog, and also rabbit. I think upside. I'm not. This is one of those deals where I pulled two cards and I'm not sure which one, and it ends up being both of them. So, all right, so it ends
Yep.
with rabbit tonight. All right, that's
Yep.
interesting because rabbit is fear, but it's upside down, which probably means, you need to quit fearing and get your butt together. So, but we'll see. Let me get out the book
We had
and read for this. So, but the first one out is the one that our dear friend Robert wanted, and it was the first. I can't believe I drew it first out. I mean, I'm not looking at these cards. I want to
ain't
stress
that
that
something?
I don't stack the deck. I don't know how. If I stacked it somehow,
Uh-huh.
I'd forget where I stacked it. So anyway, here's the book. Let me get a drink of coffee and take a deep breath. But we've got hummingbird, beaver, both are right side up, eagle upside down, hawk right side up, frog upside down, and rabbit upside down. So here we go with the prophecy. Hummingbird 44. That's like the last one in the book. We've got the last one in the book, and then
The
coming up, we've got number 1 and 2 in the book. So interesting, we've got both ends of the book.
we do.
Hummingbird is about joy. Hummingbird is associated with the ghost shirt religion, which taught that a certain dance done properly would bring about the return of the animals and that white people would disappear. Well, so the song of hummingbird awakens the medicine flowers, and hummer sings a vibration of pure joy. Flowers love hummingbird because nectar sucking brings about the reproduction of their families. So plants flower and live because of hummingbird. Hummingbird can fly in all directions. Hummingbird can also hover in one spot and appear to be motionless. Great Spirit created hummingbird to be slightly different from other feathered creatures. Because of their magical qualities, hummingbird teaches hummingbird feathers have been used for a millennium in the making of love charms. If hummingbird is your personal medicine, you love life and its joys because hummingbird is about joy. So we're putting joy in the beginning of this card selection. If hummingbird is flown into your cards, get ready to laugh musically and enjoy creators' many gifts. Drop your judgmental attitude and relax. Hummingbird will no doubt give you a flash of the spirit, darting here and there. Hummingbird hears celestial music and is in harmony with it. Hummingbird may invite you to an art museum or to a concert. Never be coarse in front of hummingbird, for this is a fragile medicine which may have no understanding of worldly affairs. Follow Sister Hummingbird, and you will soon be filled with paradigms of joy and experience a renewal of the magic of living. Okay, so there you go. Be joyful, be happy, and find joy. And the next one is Beaver, number 22, which is interesting. Um, Hummingbird is number 44 in the book, and Beaver is number 22, half of the number. Ain't that interesting? Just saying. So here's Beaver, which is the builder, and the card is upright. So Beaver is the doer in the animal kingdom. Beaver medicine is akin to water and earth energy, which is always good. So you've got the joy of life mixing with, water and earth energy. That's always a good combination. So if you were to look at the dams that block woodland streams, you will find several entrances and exits. In building a home, beaver always leaves itself an alternative to escape. Beaver is armed with very sharp teeth that are capable of dropping huge trees, and they do. Imagine what those teeth could do to somebody if they were mad at them. So, to understand beaver medicine, you might take a look at the power of working and attaining a sense of achievement. In building a dam, teamwork is necessary. So, Hummingbird is saying be joyful, and Beaver is the builder, but the only way to build something is with teamwork. So, Hummingbird to me is saying be joyful in working together, if you will. To accomplish a goal with others involves working with the group mind. Group mind constitutes harmony of the highest order. So there's going to be joy and harmony if we work together. Not bad for the first two cards in this spread. If Beaver has appeared in your spread, it may time to put your ideas into action or to complete some project that has been neglected. So sometimes Beaver brings you a warning to watch your back. If this is in your if this is your message, you will know it by the position in which the cards fall. Well, it's straight up, and I think that's not an issue. So, um, joy and builder, which is teamwork, now goes to eagle upside down, which is spirit. So, eagle medicine is the power of the great spirit, the connection to the divine. It is the ability to live in the realm of the spirit and yet remain connected and balanced within the realm of earth. In other words, eagle flies high but stays connected with the earth. And because it can do so, that's what gives it its great energy. And because eagle, that's word is spirit, the feathers of eagles are considered to be the most sacred of healing tools, by the way. If you pulled this symbol, eagle is reminding you to take heart and gather your courage, for the universe is presenting you with an opportunity to soar above the mundane levels of life. Now it's upside down. If you pulled eagle in the reverse, you have forgotten your power and your connectedness to the Great Spirit. So here's joy and working together and building something, but you've forgotten your connection. So what does that mean? Maybe it means that you need to work together to get your energy back. On some level, Eagle is telling you to seek higher ground in which to build your nest. You have forgotten your power and connectedness to the Great Spirit. You may have failed to recognize the light that is always available for those who seek illumination. You may have forgotten that the light is always on. So, Eagle's Nest is high in the mountains where the air is clean and the movement free. So, it may be your time for a vision quest that you can communicate with the Great Spirit. So, that's interesting. So, we've lost our connectedness somehow, and now Hawk comes into play, which is the messenger. So now it's right side up. Hawk is akin to Mercury, the messenger of the gods. Hawk medicine teaches you to be observant, to look at your surroundings, observe the obvious to everything that you do in life, because life is always sending you signals. Life is the initiation. If you pulled the Hawk card, then right now a clue about the magic of life is being brought to you. So Beaver's saying, get together and to build things, be joyful about it with the hummingbird, but you've lost your connectedness somehow to the creator. But here is Hawk saying that life is the initiation. And if you've pulled the card, right now is a clue about the magic of life being brought to you. So even though the eagle's upside down, the messenger is bringing you another chance, it seems like. So maybe eagle is the closing of one chapter, and here's Hawk with the opening of another. So this magic can imbue you with the power to overcome a calamity or a stressful or difficult situation. So maybe eagle upside down was some kind of thing that kept you from, knocked you off from being connected. And here's Hawk going to right the situation. What is called for here is an intuitive ability to discern the message that is carried with the cry of Hawk. The shrillness of Hawk's call pierces the state of unawareness and ask you to seek the truth. So you can seek the truth about how to get out of a situation. You can seek the truth about a bunch of stuff. The ancients recognized this magnificent bird as a messenger bringing tidings in their earth walk, the good red road, as it said. If Hawk went to magically cry, it is a sign to be where or to be aware. So keep an eye on what's coming because Hawk's been here. If Hawk has circled and landed in your card spread, you are to be aware of signals in your life. So keep an eye on that. So that's not necessarily bad, but if you've lost the connection to the earth or to the creator, then Hawk is saying, hey, you got another chance here. Be aware of what's going on, be observant. And now here's Frog, which is number 38. And Frog is always about dun da da dun cleansing. Now this card's upside down. Water prepare and cleanses the body for sacred ceremony. It is the element we understand best in the womb. Frog, like ourselves, is a polywog in the fetal waters and only learns to hop after it experiences the world of fluidity. I love that line. In other words, frog swims around as a polywog, and then it comes out and says, "Ooh, I think I'm going to be a land critter from now on." So there are many different types of frogs and toads. Don't go around licking any of them. But frog is all about cleansing. So, frog is, let's lie on a lily pad and clean things off here. But being upside down, let's find out. Frog slipped in the mud and is lying on his back, unable to right himself. Get ready for some more mud in your eye. The contrary position of frog can denote an unwillingness on your part to wipe the mire out of your life. Mud can turn from mire to bog to quicksand if you don't recognize its effect on your present situation. So here's Eagle, you've lost your connection to Mother Earth, and Hawk saying, here's another chance to, observe the situation, and here's another opportunity to maybe right itself. And then Frog is saying, you're upside down in the mud. Wipe the mud out of your eyes, because maybe that's what's keeping you from going to the next situation. Um, Is something draining your energy? Are you allowing yourself to ride down the tubes with somebody else? You're trying to help somebody with their problem and you get caught up in it. And the next thing you know, it's your problem now. So, but Frog's trying upside down is trying to tell you jump to another lily pad and wipe the mud out your eyes so you can see what's going on. Now, Rabbit is number 30, and I believe in my remembrances, Rabbit is about fear. Yep. And Rabbit's upside down. So Rabbit had a friend who happened to be a witch, a wizard, sorcerer type person, and helped Rabbit out with some food and drink. But it scared Rabbit so bad that Rabbit couldn't go back and couldn't be friends with the witch ever again. And so when the witch found out, she was like, nah, I curse. First she said, why? Um, have you stopped being my friend? And the rabbit said, because I'm afraid of you. So the witch said, okie doke, because you're afraid of me, I'm going to make sure that you and all of your relatives from now on will be afraid. You will have fear, will be who you are. You'll be afraid of everything. And so now, after all this time, Rabbit is still about fear. And Rabbit will go out into the field and go, here I am, eagle, come and eat me. And so the paralyzed feeling that Rabbit experiences when being stalked is Rabbit in the contrary position. If you've tried to resolve a situation in your life and you are unable to, you may be feeling frozen in your situation. So here's Rabbit telling you what's wrong. All right? Hummingbird, be joyful. Beaver, work together to achieve a goal. Eagle saying you've lost your connection with Mother Earth, which is bad if you're a beaver whose connection is earth and water. But Hawk is telling you, observe around you and remember you got an opportunity to get yourself out. And Frog says, Hawk says, we can get yourself out, but you got to wipe the mud out your eyes, which Frog is telling you to do. And Rabbit comes up here in the upside down position, and it could indicate a time to wait for the forces of the universe to start moving again. So, um, it could indicate a time when you need to reevaluate the process you are undergoing and to rid yourself of any negative feelings, barriers, or duress. Simply put, you cannot have your influence felt until you rearrange your way of seeing the present set of circumstances. So, upside down rabbit is that you feel frozen in a situation. And so it's like, so Frog saying, wipe the mud out, and Rabbit saying, quit feeling frozen and you can get out of the situation. So, those are the cards for this week. Ain't that an interesting spread? Hmm.
It
So, how
is.
about that?
It really is. A lot of birds tonight trying to show us wisdom. I love it. Pretty
Yeah,
good.
and
Pretty good.
it's not a bad spread. And so the thing is, everybody, what do you take out of this? Make sure you got the mud out of your eyes and quit being afraid. And you know, um, if you're standing still for too long, you might miss your chance at something. So anyway, those are the cards for this week, and hopefully it will do you some good. That's good medicine here in the cards this week for sure.
Absolutely. Absolutely. On with Grizzly Adams. Cards were great. And the story was good.
Yep.
No heads rolling. We're gonna have to go back to a book with heads rolling. People like the
Yeah.
heads rolling. Lucky's always saying, "No heads rolling tonight." So anyway, good cards and stuff like that. You got a show tonight.
Yeah, maybe so.
Maybe
You'll have
so.
to tune
Okay.
in and see.
Tune in and see. I love that answer. Anyway, it's getting a little long in the tooth, but hey, we're right under 2 hours tonight. Ain't that something? Um, got a show on Saturday night. I hope everybody can join me there. It's going to be a good one. We're going to be probably doing a little bit of more manly ball or whatever comes up, but check us out there. Um, and with that, remember, go out and do something nice. If you enjoyed these stories, give us a like, sub to our channel, share it out to other people. Hey, spread the word because we do a really good show. And at least I think so. And I
Yeah,
think
it
your
seemed
friends
like a good show anyway from here, right? And
from here
be
it does.
and be like, the hummingbird. Be joyful. You know, if nothing
That's right.
else, just wake up and just say thank you to the universe and be joyful as much as you can. It does
I
help
think
out.
being joyful, yeah, that's the thing. I seen Lucky had a short on the other day, and he was talking about being happy, and he says, try to be happy, and so many people are saying they're not happy, and that's true. I think so many people think they want to be happy, but they forgetting how to be joyful and happy. What does happiness mean to you? And I think some people have just forgotten that because their life is miserable or they deem it to be miserable. They can't find the joy in their life.
And
And I think
because joy is so in this day and age is attached to things. You can't be
oh
happy or joyful without things. And
very
be grateful for what you got at the moment, and smile that we haven't been hit by a sunspot or something, and wiped out civilization on half of the planet. I mean,
oh
be joyful, and be grateful. But because
yes,
not everything has to do with with physical things. So smile, you're on candid camera with the creator.
that's right. That's right. And that's the thing. It's you gotta be happy for what you got because a lot of people they think their things are gonna make them happy and they don't have enough things. I'm poor and I can't afford that Starbucks coffee, so I'm miserable. I gotta go to work all the time and I'm miserable. Well, you know what? Be happy that you have a job. Be happy that you can afford coffee at all. Be happy that you're alive. Get right down to the basics. I mean, think of it. You could be living on a street. You could be living in a tent somewhere or in a homeless shelter. You could have no food in your belly, starving to death, miserable, have some deadly disease. And yet those people that have those things, somehow they create happiness to live. So it's
Yep,
just something to
and
think about, people.
there's money for coffee, and then there's being grateful that coffee even exists. You
Yeah.
know,
Hey,
or that we can get our hands on coffee at all in any way, shape, or form. So there's being able to pay for it, and then there's the luxury. Thank God we have coffee. You know, I got half a cup sitting over here, so I
mm-hmm.
hope that will inspire you to be like the beaver and work with family and friends to build and create something here in the future. If nothing more than building something together can be building friendship, and that's important.
Absolutely. So with that, everybody, go out and do that. Be happy. Enjoy your life. And most important of all things, go out and be the frequency you want to receive, everybody. Love you all.
Cheers,
Peace,
everybody.
everybody.